Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome to a hot route episode of the Call Sheet Daily podcast here at the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Kevin Smith. Friday means Pez joins me to talk about sports and about life. We got some great topics on tap for today's conversation. Welcome, Pez. What's happening, my man?
Coach, it's Miami, Buffalo. We're taping Thursday night. We got to get this at a casino. We got to do it live. We can put some live action in, some bets. We got to work on this. Maybe the Hard Rock AC. I was there today. Having said that, we're not gambling, so we're having a Chianti, a nice little stick wine, a nice fall night, and really happy we didn't play this game, Coach. Miami, first series, charges down the field up 7-0. When you're getting 12 and a half and you score in the first series, that's going to be a tough comeback for the Bills. I'm glad we sat this one out, but I hope we get that Hard Rock appointment. Maybe the lobby bar. We get live action. We make you $1 million. The next thing you know, you're coaching the Steelers. Who knows?
Why not? Why not? And any self-respecting fan of the show here, if they hear you say Chianti, they immediately have to think of what? What is an immediate reaction when you hear Chianti?
Well, I hope they think of South Philadelphia and New York and our Italian paisan friends, Coach. I mean, who we've grown up with. I married a Sicilian. My son's a Sicilian boy, and he acts like it. He's got a great Italian pronunciation. But Tony Soprano Day, right? It's his birthday. I mean, maybe the greatest fictitious mob boss in history, maybe better than Don Corleone, Coach. And that, to me, is an insulting thing to suggest, but I think it could be correct.
Well, that is the conversation we're about to get into, man. It is the late James Gandolfini's birthday. He obviously made legendary career as Tony Soprano, one of the most influential TV shows, arguably of all time, The Sopranos. We got a few Sopranos-related topics that we're going to get into today, but let me kick out a general question first. When you think about the show, and you were a huge fan of The Sopranos, what's your favorite part of that show? When you think about The Sopranos, what's the essence of The Sopranos?
It's a show, media-wise, definitely changed television. One could argue maybe ruined it. It made it that the money and the entertainment was going to be an R-rated material on these pay-for channels, and they're going to make movies out of TV series and bigger than world. I think Seinfeld ended and Sopranos started around 99, and network television has died since. Maybe The Office, I'll give them Parks and Rec, maybe Community, Coach. I know you like that too. I do too. But at the end of the story, the Sopranos shifted to high value, high script written dramas and action that are on these paid channels. And now we got the NFL on there, right? Netflix, Amazon, they're all carrying games now. When I think of Tony Soprano, I think of, I didn't grow up in a mob house or anything, but I grew up with a lot of Italian and a lot of Catholic immigrant people who had connections to maybe organized crime in some ways, whether they worked for the union or some sort of gambling affiliation. Even my parents, who were not, organized crime people, they grew up upstate Pennsylvania, Irish mafia, Italian mafia, who took care of the community. And the thing about The Sopranos that takes me back to old times, there was crime, right? Crime didn't go outside of the business. No parents, no kids, no wives, no husbands, nobody outside of the criminal enterprise were wounded or were considered in fair game. Let's get back to fair crime in this country, Coach. We got drive-bys. We got people killing innocent people. You can only go after people that are in the game, right? We'll take it. We'll take it to the other HBO show, The Wire. You got to be in the game. And Tony Soprano, those guys, they played by the rules. A show that I think is an end of an era. We're not going to have crime. We're not going to have what I might call honest crime, Coach. That's kind of what I call it. Even though they murdered people. Generally, they were people that deserved to be murdered, in my opinion.
It's funny as you're talking about that. I started to think about Chaz Palminteri in A Bronx Tale as almost like the neighborhood mob boss. He's a scary dude. You're not going to cross him. But you also know that he's looking out for the neighborhood. Like, he's got the best interest of the neighborhood. When those bikers roll up in A Bronx Tale and they're clearly from out of the neighborhood and they want to drink in the bar and they want to be loud and disrespectful to the neighborhood, And then Chaz Palminteri locks the door and he says to him, "Well, now you can't get out." And they beat the hell out of him in the bar. Like, in a way, now obviously this is all being romanticized and it's all fiction and stuff, but like, that's what you want out of your neighborhood crime boss. You want him to like have the back of the neighborhood.
And that it will go back 100 years. You could have been in organized crime as a career. You could have lived next to a police officer. You were with the Capone family, the Gambino family, the Scarfo family. We go back generations. I don't know if that's the right thing or not, but these guys played by the rules. They tried to keep drugs off the street. I'm not glamorizing crime or criminals or murderers, but it was a better crime, and they did protect the neighborhood. I remember a guy, my brother and I. He was a little older, friends with the older brother. I'm friends with the younger brother. We're not going to drop names. We'll call this guy Bud. He owned a concrete business, Coach, and a very Italian guy, very tough, very quiet. And there was a situation, I was over playing Sega 95 hockey maybe, and my brother and the older guy were out at a party, and the son calls home, and I hear the dad get angry. He goes, "What's going on?" And I hear him go, "I'll be right there." He took his tooth out. He picked up a baseball bat that happened to be laying right there, Coach. He went and picked up my brother and his good buddy. They were in a party fight, a high school party fight. The guy pulled up on the lawn. It was a rival high school, and everybody backed away. I mean, I'm not saying this is a glamorous thing, but this is something you'd see in The Sopranos that nowadays people take things to an extreme. You respect an older gentleman that's in organized crime. You don't go and try to get in his face and video him. You respect him. You respect the rules. We'll take it to the wire as well. You got to play the rules of the game. But The Sopranos, I don't think captured the mafia in a better way, because these guys, they weren't great people. They weren't people that were very educated. They were just hanging on. But it was a job to them. That's what I love about that show. It was a job. It wasn't Scarface. You're not driving a Ferrari, but you're getting by. You're trying to play by the rules. And at the same time, you're committing crime. And, maybe we're all walking that line, right? I mean, that's a thin line to walk.
I like that story you just told. When a dude takes his tooth out, he means business, right? Right
Oh,
at that
my
point,
goodness.
something's about to go down when a guy takes his tooth out. No doubt about it. Let me ask you this: why do you think people? Because I'll preface this by saying, if we're being honest, particularly when you go back to like Prohibition, the mafia was a murderous organization responsible for countless crimes, and they weren't just bootlegging liquor, but there was later on there were drugs and prostitutes and racketeering and all sorts of stuff going on. And yet the American public, maybe it's because the movies have been so good, have almost this romanticized view of the mafia. Why is that? Is it because Hollywood has done such a great job of building these phenomenal movies out of mob life?
I think in America, the kind of dream is to have the great life, but also maybe break the rules a little. And these are guys that they didn't live by the regular rules, and that was at a different time. They could walk into a restaurant with a 2-hour wait, and they'd have a table brought out to them. They could walk into a sold-out concert. They're going to bring seats out to these guys, and that's something we all want, right? You want the red carpet treatment. You want to be treated like a boss, and these guys had that, probably out of intimidation and bad things. So maybe we're glamorizing a little too much, but in a way, they got away with it. In America, it's kind of a tradition, right? Does everybody pay all their taxes? Everybody's trying to get over on somebody. Beat the house, Coach. It's the synthesis of Pez's picks. We're beating the house. We're trying to beat the rules and trying to figure out a little bit of an advantage. And these guys had a freedom to them. But at the same time, The Sopranos shows, I mean, it was a destructive thing to be in organized crime. I've been around some of these people in another life, Coach. I had a little bit of a fringe involvement with some of them, and I never felt comfortable. It's not a group of people you want to sit around and at any time you could have a reaction. And Tony Soprano showed this at times. This guy was a charming, loving guy. You're like, man, that'd be a great dad. And then he was a sociopath. He turned into the bear, and he would brutally murder somebody or set somebody up, right? So it's an exciting thing to be around. I compare it to maybe extreme sports, whether it be in mountains or water or playing football, right? I mean, you're running full speed into a wall of guys trying to kill you. And this is an excitement that we all strive for. And Tony Soprano, the greatest TV character, I'll put him number one. and maybe Knight Rider #2, Coach. But Tony Soprano,
Knight
by
Rider.
far the most believable, greatest TV actor in the history of the Pez's Picks career.
Yeah, life on the edge, man. There's something alluring about that. Let me ask you one more question, not specifically related to The Sopranos, but you're a traveler like I am. We've both traveled all over the world, but particularly in this country, when you travel around the country and people ask you where you're from and you say New Jersey, almost immediately somebody would be like, Tony Soprano, The Sopranos. I don't know, I'm spitballing this off the top of my head, so you might not be able to give me an answer, but is there, I mean, the Sopranos and its association to New Jersey is about as strong as any I can think of with anything else. Like I can't think of another cultural reference that's so specific to a place as the Sopranos are to New Jersey, for good or for bad. New Jersey gets beat up for a lot of reasons, some of them justifiable. But yeah, wherever you go, man, it's like Bon Jovi, Bruce, and the Sopranos. That's New Jersey.
We're going to toot our own horn here a little bit, Coach, and I thank you for you're giving me a softball here. The Tony Soprano, the kind of the Italian mafia kind of attitude and accent. I'm Irish, Coach, but I grew up outside of Philly around all these paisans, and I got into horse betting a lot and going to tracks. And you've met some of my friends; they're degenerates, but we love the track. Kentucky, we'd spend time. When I tell you that the Kentucky ladies love the Tony Soprano kind of motif and accent, I don't know what it was, Coach. I thought I was prom king every time I went there. Mrs. Pez's Picks. I mean, I met her after this career, and I've explained to her, and she thinks it's charming. She's Italian, so she's not impressed with us. But the Southern debutantes, they love it. They love the accent, the attitude, the kind of we're bullshitting that we kind of know what's going to happen, or we know what's going on, or we're cool. If you're a gambler, you're always nervous, right? But you got to keep that poker player kind of face. Fantastic experience to go and meet people, impressed just because we were from. Late 90s, early 2000s, that's what you would hear. Are you, do you know Tony Soprano? And that gave us some street cred. Jersey Shore, I think, even gave us a little more, but the Tony Soprano, a little classier street cred. The pizza, the lifestyle, the pasta, you can't find it anywhere but Philly, New Jersey, New York. They tell me Boston. I haven't found it there yet, but I'll agree with them a little bit. But that's an area that's unique to the United States, and one that, I don't know, I'm proud that I grew up in a little bit. And I'm proud that I knew a lot of these guys. Great people.
Yeah, The Sopranos is to New Jersey what like Melrose Place and Beverly Hills 90210 were to like Southern California, in the 80s and the early 90s. It's really rooted in a certain time, place, moment. It just resonates. It just resonates New Jersey. And for anybody who's listening, who's not from New Jersey and is not real familiar, North Jersey and South Jersey are like two different places. Where we live now, Pez and I, in the southern part of the state at the beach, very different from what you're talking about with The Sopranos. But when you travel through New Jersey, there is a lot of that Tony Soprano spirit that resonates throughout the state.
Well, you get a few different feels, right? If you go to Atlantic City, I was there today, Coach. I mean, I love that place, the energy. But you go there, you get a little Philly connection family, you get a little Trenton family, you get the New York guys. So that's a conglomerate. That always feels like there's a fight to break out in those casinos. You feel like everybody there doesn't really know each other, but there's a different feel to the different type of traditional, kind of family, Italian families. Philly is way different than New York, and it's an entirely different food system either, and the pizza's different. I contend South Jersey Philly pizza way better than North Jersey. I'll give New York their props, but North Jersey, I don't know, a little bit sloppier, a little floppier to me. I think the bagels, great, but I'll take South Jersey bagels, Coach. I mean, at the end of the day, pasta, I think South Philly, you go to the Bronx, you get the best homemade pasta. So North Jersey, more the working man's kind of Tony Soprano family. These guys were earners. They were in the recycling plants, the trash business, and that shows you they weren't really into numbers. When they talk gambling, it's always those guys losing tons of money to the book. And Tony probably didn't pay, right? I mean, they had that a lot of episodes. He'd be down 4 dimes, and he didn't seem like a guy down 4 dimes. I mean, 4 dimes, $40,000. So I don't think Tony had to pay his debts, but an interesting kind of example of how gambling shifted. That was a big earner for the original organized crime families, as time went on, the lottery, organized casinos that were legal, and now sports betting. It's kind of put gambling is not an illegal business anymore. So I wonder what they're doing, Coach. I feel bad for the Tony Sopranos. How are they earning, right? How much can trash be worth these days? Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure they got a hustle going. They're
Yeah.
creative, man. One thing you realize about criminals, or at least the organized crime, is they know what they're doing. They're not dumb. They're creative about how they go about their business. So anyway, happy birthday to James Gandolfini, the late,
Oh God,
unfortunately, James Gandolfini, and
what a guy.
what an indelible memory or impression he's left on American culture. All right, let's turn our attention to week 3 in the NFL. As you mentioned earlier, it's underway. We're recording as Miami and Buffalo are playing. Big week 3 slate of games on tap. Give me a little bit, and you and I were talking before the show. I'm actually dipping my toe a little bit in making some picks and some projections. And mine's more, looking at matchups and schemes and seeing what I like from that perspective. But this is your world. So what do you really like in week 3?
As the great Tom Cruise said in Color Money, Coach, if everybody's doing it, then everybody's doing it. So why aren't you doing it? Get the bets in. Get it in there. Let's make some money, right? Get the cabbage into the table. We're hot right now. 4-0 last week. NFL, we went 1-1 in college. That's a little bit tougher, but 5-1 week, we're happy. This Buffalo Miami game, a lot of games this week look like a trap game, and this was one of them to us. 12.5. Playing the Dolphins, they look terrible. That coach, I mean, is he going to be fired next week? Tua's looked a little slow. So a trap game, though. I wouldn't be shocked if Miami wins these games. Thursday games, unpredictable. We kind of stick to consistency. Home teams are going to win more than they're not. And you got to bet the better quarterback. This week in the NFL, I think we have 5 backup quarterbacks starting. Week 3, that's got to be the most since we kind of changed the rules to protect knees and headshots, right? I don't remember this many starting quarterbacks be out this early in the season. So I would like to take first week backup quarterbacks because, as a coach, usually a little spark there. These guys are in the league for nothing. Not worth it. Too much. You're kind of just gambling at that point. There's no data on them. Week 2, week 3, these guys usually even out and they start figuring them out. So a lot of unpredictability in the coming weeks in the NFL. As long as the Birds keep winning, Coach. I mean, what else is there? Still the best team in the country, best team in the NFL, best running game, best defense, in my opinion. And Jalen Hurts, I love all the chatter. Super Bowl MVP, and these people are still doubting him. The guy has won more percentage of games in his career than any other quarterback but Patrick Mahomes in the NFL. So I'll take him all day. We're not betting the Birds this week, but I kind of like their chance.
It's funny, Philadelphia beats Kansas City last week in that Super Bowl matchup. And at the end of the game, as they're kneeling out the clock, the hot mic catches Chris Jones, the defensive tackle for the Chiefs, trash talking Saquon Barkley and saying, like you didn't even gain 100 yards. We held you under 100 yards. And Jalen Hurts says, "Shut the F up. We won the game." And that's the bottom line. It's just look, man, all these people that are jumping on Jalen Hurts about him not being a top 10 quarterback and he can't make this throw and that throw. I mean, Philly just keeps winning 18 out of 19. So I'm sure that he will be perfectly fine with people doubting his game as long as the Eagles continue to win.
I think we saw the 2 best defensive coaches in the league last week, and these guys, they know each other. I mean, it's played in the Super Bowl. Andy Reid, fantastic coach, Spags, and the Eagles coach. I don't think there's a better group out there, and that was a defensive stalemate. Mahomes looked like a normal guy, and that tells you, the work they put in. They're building teams, both of these teams, to beat each other. So you could build a team to beat Carolina every week, or even the stupid Dallas Cockroaches, right? You could build a team to do that, but that might not be the team to win the Super Bowl. So I think at times an Eagles, a Chiefs, even a Ravens a little bit who haven't done it in the playoffs, even the Steelers maybe this year, they're built to win in the playoffs. And sometimes regular season, that catches up to you. You don't look great, but offensive line, running the ball, and defense is still the name of the game in the NFL. We're back to basics, and the quarterback can't turn the ball over, and that's it. I mean, if your quarterback turns that ball over, forget about it, pack the bags, you're done. So Jalen Hurts, fantastic at that. I mean, obviously Mahomes and your guy, Coach Aaron Rodgers, he didn't do it last week. We're so glad we didn't bet on him. Guy flipped that ball around a little too much. I hope they tighten it up because I like that team.
All right, Pez, here's what we're going to do right now. Ready? I'm going to throw out to you a couple of the picks that I'm making
Okay.
for, our PFI site, Pro Football Insiders, where you can find a lot of my work. And I'm doing a matchup segment, which will, be done on Fridays, come out over the weekend. And I made 3 picks this week. So I'm going to give Pez a chance to weigh in on these.
Love
One, I took Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. I took the over on receiving yards for him. It's 81.5. Now, it's a lot of yards, but he's averaging 111 receiving yards a game. They're playing in Chicago. The Bears are without their best corner, Jalen Johnson. He's out. The Bears just gave up 52 to the Lions. I think if you're Dallas, you're going to have to try, or if you're Chicago, you're going to have to try to outscore Dallas. The ball is going to be in the air in that contest. I like CeeDee Lamb over 81.5. What are your thoughts on that?
We're not big on prop plays, Coach. We talk about it a lot. So
I know
I'm
not.
not insulting you.
Yeah.
I'm not insulting you. But this to me is low-hanging fruit. This is bait. So much goes into, does CeeDee Lamb hit this mark? They can win the game, lose the game. The guy can hit the mark. When we look at, defensively, Chicago comes in 21 in the league against the pass. Let's get to the bottom line. I think both teams stink. And I think Chicago stinks probably a little bit more. But you never know with Dallas. I think what Dallas, if I was Dallas's coach, I would run that ball all day and night on Chicago. I wouldn't do anything else. And I don't think CeeDee Lamb hits that mark. Having said that, Dallas, they're a bunch of morons, Coach. I think they do gun it out. And if you gun it out against Chicago, maybe Caleb gets hot. Maybe they keep up with you. But that's exactly what the Cockroaches do. I like your play. I say we hit the over. It's going to be a gun it out game.
Let's go. I picked 3 overs. All right, here's another one. Now, this is on the opposite end of the spectrum. Kareem Hunt, running back for the Chiefs. His over is 27.5 yards. Now, he's only averaging 25 rushing yards per game this year. He's splitting carries with Isaiah Pacheco. But the Chiefs have not even tried to run the ball this year. They ran it 16 times in their opener. They ran it 24 times against the Eagles. They lost both games. Now they're going to New York to play the Giants, who's last in the NFL against the run, giving up 177.5 rushing yards per game. I mean, 27.5 yards for Kareem Hunt, that just seems really low against the worst run defense in the league. And it feels like if you're Kansas City, this is the week you get your run game going because you're going to need it if you're going to be able to be competitive down the stretch. Over 27.5 for Kareem Hunt. What are our thoughts on that?
Kareem, big letdown for me. I love this kid. I thought his career was going. I mean, we know he had a little bump in the road, little personal mistakes, but hasn't been the kind of guy that we thought. He comes in this week having had 31 and 16. So we're kind of middling with that 27.5. That's what they're doing a little bit. The puzzling situation why they don't run the ball for Kansas City better. The offensive line seems to protect pretty well. I don't like that one, Coach. I'm taking the under. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
That to me
get it going,
too
Chiefs.
easy. That seems too easy, right? You're like, Kareem Hunt, he'll break one. He ain't breaking one. We'll take the under. I think he comes up with like 9 yards. I think the Chiefs are in trouble. I think they're in trouble. I think they're bad juju going on in that team. No receivers. They just seem slow, right? It seems like a tired team. Think about the amount of playoff games they played in Super Bowls. They probably played 2 extra seasons the last 6-7 years. So
that's why if I'm Andy Reid, I'm doubling down on the run game, man. I got to get the run game going. This is a great week to do it. All right, last one. All right, you're not going to like this one. Jared Goff, over 256 yards against the Baltimore Ravens. 256 passing. Detroit's got the 5th best pass offense in the NFL. The Ravens have the 31st best pass defense. The Ravens are giving up 298 passing yards per game. Goff's coming off a huge game where they put up 52. The Ravens have scored over 40 in both their games. The Lions just scored 52. This game's going to be a shootout. I mean, I feel like this is going to wind up being like, a 35-30 game, something like that. I don't know, man. I got Jared Goff airing it out this week for the Lions, over 256.5.
Well, he comes in a rough record. I mean, he's 0-3. That's a bad start. But that's
okay. I'm not saying he's going to win.
Maybe he's gunning it more because they're down.
Yeah.
when we look at, this is where these lines are coming. He's averaging 237 yards passing a game in 3 starts. So you're at 250. What's your
256.
play?
256.
256. That's a
Yeah.
lot, Coach. That's a lot. And 0 TDs and 3 picks. Whew. I don't know about this one. This is going to be a tough one, I think. But having said that, they need to win. Detroit's against the ropes. I think Baltimore hasn't looked as dynamic as I think. I'm going to give you 50-50 on that one. I don't know. There's a rule we have at Pez's Picks. We don't bet against Big Andy and Patrick in Kansas City, and we don't bet against Lamar and Harbaugh in Baltimore. That's a rule. We don't do that. Baltimore scares me, Coach. I don't know about you. I don't want to admit this, but I will. They terrify me. They're mean people on that Baltimore Ravens. So Jared Goff, very fragile guy, dome player. I'm worried about this one. I'm going to say no. I'm sorry, buddy.
I know you don't like any of them. You're only being nice about the first one, man. You're not a prop bet guy. I get it.
No, we're not.
But I do like the matchups. I do like when I look at from an X and O perspective, the matchups, and so that's where I'm leaning in on some of those.
The old logic of this was if you think a team's going to get beaten with a dynamic offense, you take the quarterback throwing over because they're going to be down. So maybe you're right. Maybe Baltimore goes up early. Dan Campbell ain't quitting. They're going to gun that ball. So maybe you got a chance, Coach. Good luck with this one.
All right, appreciate it. I'm betting all of Ken Wisniewski's money on it, so I don't have to really worry about any of my own money.
We love that, man.
He gave me like $10,000, and he was like, "Just bet this on some stuff for me." So
he gave us the corporate jet last week, and this guy, we're not at Bethpage though. I don't want to sound greedy, but he promised us a luxury bus to park at Bethpage for this Ryder Cup. Who do you like in the Ryder Cup?
I don't know anything about it. I'd be lying. I'll just say America. Go America. Woohoo!
Europe's a plus like 170 right now. America minus, I don't know, 140 or something. But that could be American skewed odds. I'm a little worried. I'm just going to tell you that. We're taking Russell Henley to be the #1 points getter on the American team. I think you get great return. Best putter for the American team. The putters silently are assassins in this Ryder Cup. I can't wait, Coach. I can't believe you're not more dialed in. This is the best golf. We can have fights out there. This Keegan Bradley almost fought a guy like 10 years ago, Jose Maria Alfamo. You like that? And he went after the Spanish guy chest to chest. Thank you.
That's a good accent.
Yeah.
That's
chest
like Pez. The Pezdas and the Smiths were out at a Mexican restaurant, literally called Mexico. And Pez ordered the Polo a la Americana. And the woman looked at him, and she was like, "Clearly, you've never been here before." So
I've been to Mexico, and they always do that meant checking, Coach. I don't know. I'm going to doubt the genuinity of that restaurant, but that's fine. I like the food.
All right, fun conversation. We touched a lot of bases. Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini, New Jersey, good football stuff. A little bit of golf there at the end. It's always entertaining with you, Pez.
You too, my friend, and God, I miss that Tony Soprano.
Yeah,
an end of an era. There's no cool organized crime in general, but there's definitely no cool Tony Soprano out there, and we'll miss that man. Great actor, very entertaining, gave us a lot of joy.
Absolutely. All right, for Pez at Pez's Picks, this has been our Friday Hot Route conversations about sports and life. Hope you keep enjoying it and keep joining us on Fridays for it. Until Monday, I'll see you on Monday. Everybody have a great weekend. Take care.